And action. Welcome back, everybody. It's another episode of It's Another Thing. This is episode number 4, in which we wrap up our discussion of Jessica Jones Season 2. This is the E2KG Entertainment crew, and here with me, as always, is Mr. Dave Pecci. How you doing, Dave?
It's going well, man. How are you?
Good. Good. I got a lot of tech stuff to do tonight.
Oh, jeez.
A
By
lot
the
of
way,
tech stuff.
this is a spoiler podcast, so if you have not seen the last 4 episodes of Jessica Jones, please go watch them and then watch this podcast again if you want. With that out of the way, I guess I'll start with my initial reaction. I'm still very proud of Jessica Jones. And Christian Redden. Do I some and I'd be okay with that. See what else Marvel is gonna do. And I'm back. Oh.
Yeah, I was muted. Sorry. So
Okay. No worries.
I'm not sure whose end it was on, but I know since I'm still in the call that if we continue from here, we should be okay. Now, if I have to disconnect, then we gotta shut the call down and start it over.
Okay. Sorry, guys. We had a bit of a technical issue right there. I don't know how much you heard. At what point I froze on your end.
I didn't hear anything. Yeah, the last thing I heard you say was you were still proud overall of Jessica Jones Season 2. So why don't you pick up from there?
Okay, I don't remember what I said after that. I was just saying, I think I heard people talk about that they're not sure that there's going to be season 3, that some people think that she might just cameo in some of the other Netflix shows, and I think I'd be okay with that.
No, there's definitely, as far as I understand, there's definitely a season 3. I saw.
They confirmed it.
Yeah, and you're breaking up again a bit. What I saw was that it was confirmed that there was a season 3 and that it had been decided that it was going to be on Netflix, leaving us, a little uncertain on what Marvel's whole plan is for future Netflix shows, since I believe everything, I don't. So Jessica Jones would kick off. So Jessica Jones has kicked off the next phase, right? She's the first show to premiere following The Defenders, which I guess in my mind was what I would call the equivalent of the Netflix phase 1. So what's uncertain at this point is, she's going to be on Netflix, but where are the other shows going to be? Since theoretically, Disney's intention is to pull all of their content and only have it on their own streaming channel.
Yeah. So that's interesting. I wonder if they might have some of them on Netflix still. It'd be good for Netflix. Is you know, because otherwise a lot of people would lose, I think, interest in watching Netflix. I mean, honestly, the only shows I've been watching on Netflix are Star Trek and the Marvel ones. And I'd like to see what they're going to do with the X-Men. And, The Gifted is coming back up this summer, and I've been desperately looking for The Gifted because I don't think it was a show that was given much popularity. And I've also been looking at, kind of the convention, the Comic-Con scene right now to see who's been appearing. And I haven't seen a lot of the Gifted cast appearing anywhere in California, any of these big cons that we have. A lot of the big conventions, I've seen Kristen Ritter, David Tennant. They were both at the Silicon Valley Comic Con, which I went to, which was horrible, especially after the whole Stan Lee thing. But I know Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. were really big, even though I think that show's like fallen off with ratings. So it's kind of interesting. The Gifted, I think, did not get as much attention and marketing as it could have. I know but Dumont, I think she was on a couple of comic conventions giving a talk and a panels. So hopefully that they can, because I would really want to know. I would love to hear more from the cast, on The Gifted. So that's kind of my spiel right there. I don't know where I was going with that.
Right. So yeah, there's just a lot of. I mean, we always have a lot of unknowns around entertainment pieces in the industry, but in particular with this potential merger looming, everything's hush hush. We don't really know. We're not certain. I think a lot of people speculate. A lot of people say they know, but I don't know who really knows. So
yeah, we do know Luke Cage is coming in June. There's a trailer that launched for that.
Okay.
And we do know there's a season 2 Punisher, and Daredevil hasn't been confirmed, but I'm assuming that's going to launch this year as well. And the Iron Fist, I haven't heard anything about what season 2 for that will be.
Gotcha. So let's go ahead and talk about the last 4 episodes of Jessica Jones season 2. So in the first 3 episodes of It's Another Thing, we covered all of the episodes up through episode 9. I guess were we doing 3 episodes?
No. I think what happened was our first 3 was that was the Lost episode. So our second episode, we ended up doing 1 through 6.
Right.
Yeah, and then I think from there we did 7 through 9.
Right,
and now
we got the final 4.
We're on the last segment.
Right. So it's a lot to cover. Final 4 episodes. AKA Pork Chop was episode 10. AKA 3 Lives and Counting was episode 11. AKA Pray for My Patsy was episode 12. And AKA Playland was episode 13. Now, I guess what I want to ask you just right off the bat is, I felt like these last few episodes went in some kind of weird places. And I feel like we've seen this on at least one other Netflix show. Well, you tend to see them a lot, right? Because on more than one Netflix show, there has been, since Luke Cage, there has been this thing where the initial antagonist that you expect to be the real problem figure winds up getting killed before the end of the actual series. So this one just kind of had it had various characters who came in and out, and it felt like to me when
go ahead.
It felt like to me like when Alyssa got arrested, like these final 4 episodes were almost like a different show, right? It was a different arc in the series. It felt like. And I really thought because we had seen the thing with Cottonmouth in Luke Cage, I thought she was actually going to be taken off the playing board, and in the remainder of the show was all going to be about, Jessica finally finding IGH or maybe her thing with Carl, but it still wound up being this kind of twisted up thing with her mother, and I guess at the end, technically, Trish as well, which was also a surprise twist for me. So just kind of overall, how did you feel about the ending arc of the series?
Well, I guess we'll let the cat out of the bag. The very last episode, episode 13. It was kind of a tearjerker in a sense. The mom kind of it was kind of like she gave up. They could have moved on to trying to escape, but she says no. I'm going to go to this amusement park, and I'm just calling it right then and there. In a sense, it caught up with her, and she was killed by Trish. And I didn't see that. I didn't see that coming. I was hoping that they would continue on. The mom would go to, gosh, what's it called again? The prison.
The Raft.
The Raft. That's right.
I don't know in any television show I've ever seen a place mentioned so frequently and yet not be shown on the actual show.
Yeah, that's true. Or any mention of like Shield or somebody putting her away. Like that was kind of really interesting. So I was just I'm kind of very mad with Trish and the fact where she's all like, well, why can't we just move on and get over with it? And I was like, you killed the freaking lady, I'm like, that wasn't your decision to make. I don't know. And I become friends again. I think they should have their distance. And I was kind of glad that Jessica, she moved on, at the end, and she got she hooked up with I'm forgetting his name right now.
I just call him Wildcat since that's what he was on the Arrow. But
yeah,
it's Oscar Arocho.
Oscar, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I
forgot to mention the charity thing really took me by surprise because she's back to being her cold, calculated, snake-like self.
Yeah, so let's go ahead and talk about Hogarth. So this is a character. So I overall felt that the show kept my interest. I kept wanting to see what was the next shoe that was going to drop, but I don't overall kind of like where everyone landed. I really don't like the Hogarth arc, right? Because a big part of my thing is, I mean, I liked her traversal. I didn't like where she stuck her landing. So one of my big things is and television is a little different, but I will say for a movie, unless the character is an archetype like a Han Solo, right, or a Superman, I don't really like movies. In fact, I tend to not be able to stand movies that end with characters in the exact same place they were when they started, right? I watch a movie to see the change in the character's drumbeat. Up in the Air, I didn't like Up in the Air because George Clooney winds up being the exact same person at the end of the movie that he was at the beginning, seemingly having learned nothing from his experience. Or maybe he did, but what he learned was that he was okay the way he was. And I just kind of didn't like that. I was like, what? Really? I just wasted all that time? So the problem I have with the Hogarth thing is she winds up at least exactly where she was. She actually is kind of
worse.
She's a horrible human being.
Exactly.
Like the whole thing. I mean, it was kind of neat plot pacing and plot architecture for her to basically pull a Kilgrave.
Yeah.
Right, with Inez, and basically convince her to kill Sean. If that's what happened, we assume that she shot Sean. I think you could see them through her shadow through the curtain, and she was the one left standing. And I guess there's a certain part where the writers wanted you to feel that was appropriate, that they had done something horrible to her in running the con, and so she had kind of turned them against each other. But I kind of felt like what she should have learned from it was that rather than utilize her power and her money to treat people like crap and try and beat the odds, maybe the better thing for her to do was just to deal, right? and figure out how she wanted to live out the rest of her life. Instead, what she does is she exacts revenge by manipulating someone to murder. And I was like, so I don't really feel like she learned anything, right?
And though on top of that, and then calls the cops on her.
Right. Yeah, so just a horrible. I mean, look, con artists are not nice people, and she kind of conned the con. So I guess there was a thing, a thumbs up. You were supposed to give that, but I just at the end of the day, I didn't really like how that whole thing landed. Now, she's starting her own business at the end of the show. Apparently, it sounds like she has at least one partner or employee who's going to work with her, because she was talking about in a second year associate's office or something, when she was berating the landlord for the new place she was going to lease. I strongly wonder whether or not that's Foggy. The young lady who was waiting on her to a little bit looked like the girl she was leaving her ex-wife for the previous season, so I wasn't absolutely certain if that was her or not. I guess I could look that up in the credits and whatnot. But so she's kind of returning to herself, but she's on some apparently serious meds that the assistant is managing for her. So I guess that gives the appearance that the plan is for her to work, but also contend with her illness. But yeah, I guess I didn't really like the whole thing. How did you feel about Malcolm's arc?
Horrible too, because he seems like a snake-like type of person, right? Because he joined up with that crooked PI and is working with Jerry. So he turned from being very like noble to being, I don't know. But go on.
No, I know. I hear you. You caught me off guard. But yeah, I hear you, and I can respect that. I was actually okay with it because I felt like Malcolm finally became successful, right? After, living in a dirt poor apartment, dealing with the addiction thing, working for Jessica. And again, so I guess overall part of the problem with this whole show is all of these people are despicable human beings, right? In some way, maybe except Wildcat, right? He's like the one. Oh, but he's also a felon, right? So, and I guess it's noir, so I guess it's kind of, maybe it's supposed to feel like that, but it's hard.
Right. Trish is still kind of a stuck-up person, right? Because were her motives pure to kill off, the mom? No, I feel like it was in spite of being jealous of Jessica. It wasn't because she wanted to do the right thing,
and because she wanted to be a hero, right? She wanted to have her mark. That whole thing you mentioned, it caught you off guard. That whole thing surprised me. When the mother was shot, I thought it was a police sniper who took her out. I was very shocked to find that it was Trish. But I struggle. So her storyline, her ending, I probably struggle with the most, because the huge fan applause came from me when she catches the phone with her foot, and I feel like, okay, it looks like we're getting Hellcat next season. So I don't know. How did you?
Yeah.
How did you?
It's kind of like only saving grace, right? Because that was a cool scene.
So I'm trying to think if there's really anything else. I mean, to go over with these episodes, right? The whole thing. No, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, I speculated for the longest time who Malcolm's dad was, and I had a thought that it might be referencing, because they talked about his dad's in the media, and I instantly was thinking, I forget his name, in Spider-Man, Robertson.
Robbie Robinson.
Yeah, I was thinking, oh, I wonder if that's his dad. But then you look at his name and it's like Ducasse or something.
Right. So, well, but of course he could have changed his last name, right, to not be associated with his dad, who's apparently famous. We have there's the African American reporter that's in the Daredevil series, Ben Ulrich. So
right.
it could be a link in there. Yeah. So I don't know. Overall, I still like seeing and witnessing Malcolm's story.
Right.
I guess overall, my whole thing with the Trish and the Jessica thing is I just don't know how Trish comes back from that. Right. I don't know how you get those two back together. Tragedy seems to be a thing that is going to follow the Jessica Jones character, and so while the final dinner scene with her and Oscar and Vito is heartwarming, my suspicion is that something horrific and tragic is going to happen with those characters to kick off season 3, so that
Oscar's going to become Muse. Just kidding.
My suspicion is that Oscar's going to get thrown back in jail, and Vito's going to have to go off with the mother, and Jessica will fall right back to her ways. I also struggle a bit with understanding exactly what the show is trying to say about addiction. That's clearly a strong theme in the show. Yeah. I think it's an honorable thing to be taking on, with the opioid epidemic and meth and heroin, back on the rise. I get that. I get that addiction is bad, or it's a problem, or it's a thing to be contended with. I don't get what the show is really like. I don't get if the show is trying to say everybody has an addiction, or so I struggle, right? So, and it's analogous to me. I guess within the last month was the 20th anniversary of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the show. And a big theme in Buffy was that basically anytime somebody had sex, bad things would happen. And but that whole theme was a statement about people taking accountability for their lives and the actions that they took to follow up on a given attraction, and keeping that in check and under control. So this show, like I said, is clearly trying to say something about addiction, but I can't put my thumb on what it is. I don't know. Do you have any thoughts?
I mean, yeah, because it's pretty bad, right? We saw Malcolm, who seceded and got out of his addiction. Trish, who I don't think.
Well, Malcolm succeeded, but then he just substituted it with another.
I mean, that's kind of the thing, like the argument, right? Like, are you always an addict, right? Or has he found something, because at the very end, I don't think that he's, substituting it for sex anymore. He's focusing his mind on, his new career opportunities.
Right. So then you were going to mention Trish, who
I don't think is cured of, of her issue. I think part of Trish's issue is her whole life being Patsy, like she's still close with her awful mother, right? And I don't know, it just seems so, she just doesn't seem very cured of, her issues growing up. And so I think until that gets resolved, she's still got all these issues. Like, I feel like Trish, the next time we see her, she's going to be a hero, but she's going to have, if not many more issues than Jessica does.
Yeah, it's really interesting because they've significantly altered, what her origin is going to be and the genesis of that character, and I don't know where they're going to take her. I have a strong feeling that she's going to wind up dead, right? And that's going to kind of be the story of the addiction. That for her, I feel like what she's addicted to is a constant need to prove her self-worth.
Yeah.
Right? And to be validated by other people. and I think that's going to wind up getting her killed. Now, I think when she has superpowers, she's going to insist on always putting herself in harm's way. Now, one of the things that we saw on the show in the last few episodes was this. And it was kind of a side note, but then the question is if they're going to really make it like a power. They mentioned her having used 2 of her 9 lives, right? So, and of course, the character Hellcat in the comics did die and go to hell and then came back. So I'm wondering if they're going to play with that. I'm wondering if, in my fear or prediction that she's going to die, I wonder if she's going to die and go to hell and come back. I wonder if it's going to spawn her into her own show. And my biggest question of all, and the thing that I really want, to be quite honest, the reason getting Hellcat excites me so much is because if they follow Paradigm said in the comics, because it increases the potential that we will get a Jen Walters, She-Hulk, which I think would just be awesome. Like I said, even if she doesn't walk around town and destroy anything, right? I think it would just be incredibly awesome to see Jessica Jones. Because in the comics, it's Jen Walters who hires Jessica out to help her as her primary investigator for cases. So that would be interesting. And and Jen's just another lawyer, right? So you've got Matt Murdock, you've got Foggy, you've got Hogarth, bringing in another one of the Marvel Universe's big legal eagles. I think makes sense in what they've built. In the Netflix show's world. Even though her powers are at a scale that kind of definitely renders her, not a street level character. I think it would just be cool to have her in there.
Yeah, I don't have maybe mostly because it's been so long that, or I just didn't have too many talking points after this.
Right. So Carl Malice, do you think he is dead or not?
Oh yeah, definitely dead.
It
would just be horrible if they kept him alive. I want this all wrapped up.
I think he's not because I feel like this is where Marvel is parking the whole everybody chasing the super soldier serum thing. You don't see it as much. Well, it looked like they were going to go that way in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., but I think they veered away from it to get the Inhumans in there. But that's a running theme in the Marvel Universe, right? Is that like 90% of the villains are all the result of everybody trying to replicate the super soldier formula. So,
right, which is also happening in this season of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Okay, all right. Yeah. So I think he's not dead because we didn't actually see him blow up, and we didn't see a body.
I thought they had the police go over there and like kind of confirm it or something.
I just didn't hear. I mean, I could have missed it definitely. I didn't hear them say that they had actually found a body.
I don't know. It just it's possible, but man, it just seems super far-fetched because he was right in the middle of that. Unless he had some sort of super ability that kept him alive.
Well, I don't know. I think he had everything to gain from faking his death. So, sorry, I don't know what in the world is going on here. Sorry.
No worries.
So yeah, so that'll be interesting to see Fallout. Again, we still didn't see or get resolved what's going on with Griffin.
I know that was kind of annoying. Like
it's really weird. But this is one of the strange things that I feel like happens in these Netflix shows when characters just get written off and out and leave and like never gets addressed again. So I don't know if that's intentional or or what, but it'll be interesting to see if he pops up. Later episode as well. And I actually liked, like I said, the Malcolm arc, and I'm very interested to see where that goes. Like you said, he's still got the whole thing with his dad and who he is. There's still this lingering thing between he and Trish, so I'm interested to see where that goes now that he can afford to wear nice suits. So, and obviously I'm interested to see how the Hellcat thing turns out. So I don't know, man. What are we doing next with the entertainment crew?
I don't know. I might be pretty busy, so
okay.
We'll talk about it. But definitely the Gifted for sure. I want to cover because
so that'll be
that hasn't been talked about as much. I think by podcasters, so I think that'd be a good one.
Yep. Are we doing Cloak and Dagger? Did that already start?
No, that's June as well. So it's the same time about Luke Cage. So that's
All right. Well, let me know. That seems like a reasonable target to hit for the summer. That'll kind of replace our Marco Polo Dark Matter discussions from the last couple of years.
Yeah.
So, all right, man. Well, I think that's gonna do it for us. And unless there's anything else you want to go over.
Nope. If people want to follow me, I'm Comic Book Guy 90 on Twitter.
Yeah, and I am at Agasically Stamus, all one word, 2 S's in the middle. Keep your eyes out on E2KG. So we've got some guest podcasters rolling in. We're going to be adding some additional people to the staff. I'm not exactly sure how that's going to add to our content. We're building up a stream team, so you're going to see additional content hopefully being added. Or you will hear me lament about the potential that never reached its fruition. So, but I think there's a good chance you're going to see a shakeup in the content on the E2KG network. I shouldn't say shakeup because we're happy with what we're doing and we're happy with the reception that we're getting. You're just going to see maybe some additional voices added to the mix, which is always also good and always good. And if you have interest in gaming, streaming, entertainment, TV shows, movies, whatever, get in touch with us. We're definitely looking to expand. We definitely want to extend the reach of the podcast network and take on some additional topics. So we really love to get somebody else interested in these short format television shows to join Dave and I or rotate in with us, one of the two. So on behalf of the E2KG network and Mr. Dave Pecci at Comic Book 90, my name has been Agasically Stamus from Gearworks.com and the E2KG network channel on YouTube. That's going to do it for us. Episode 4 of It's Another Thing is in the can. Stay tuned to hear what our next segment is going to be. It will most likely be Cloak and Dagger. So we will probably be on hiatus here for the next month or so. And then you will hear us ramping back up and taking off with the next arc of It's Another Thing. Thanks so much for joining in. That's going to do it for us. We're out.